Alright, so I'm going to be replacing the screen on this Lenovo Ideapad 310 Touch-15IKB. Right, so first thing we're going to want to do is get into the laptop and replace or remove the battery or disconnect the battery. We are going to be using, I believe it's a PH1 or JAS1 screwdriver. You do want to keep the screws in order because they can be different size, shapes, and lengths. If you're just going to replace the RAM or the hard drive is just underneath this door. Okay, so I'm gonna set these separately, but get underneath the door, remove the screw, and then there's this part here, you just lift that up. Sometimes it helps to kind of flex the sides down as you pull up the center, and the cover comes off just like that. Alright, so here you can see the hard drive. There's this plastic clip here that holds it down. So to remove that, you push it towards the hard drive, and then you can lift the hard drive up. Once you lift the hard drive up slightly, you don't want to lift it too high or you can damage the connector here. Then you can kind of just wiggle it and pull it back like that. So this is a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive. You do want to transfer over this plastic bracket to the new one. You just kind of pull it, wiggle and pull it off. It has these little plastic things that mount it, okay? So just like that, and you can see this whole thing will come out. You do that on both sides. I'm going to leave it because the customer just wants their screen replaced. They didn't ask to have their hard drive replaced, but you can upgrade to an SSD using that. Then you got the RAM underneath here. Let's remove that door. Okay, just that one screw there. Then you can get underneath here, lift it up just like that, go around and pull this cover up. Okay, comes out just like that. You got, it looks like only one stick of RAM and the other stick is soldered down. It looks like there was liquid damage or glue or something here before, so that's kind of weird. Alright, anyways, the RAM is PC4 2400T. You can get any PC4 2400T RAM, so just make sure you match those, and you can get an 8 gig, 16 gig. If they have a 32 gig, you can get a 32 gig. But for most people, I think if this is also 8 gig, 16 gigs total is plenty, and you won't really get much performance boost from doing anything with that. So we're going to leave that there. You got the keyboard connector here. You got the, I'm not sure, I think this is probably the trackpad connector. I'm going to leave those alone. You also got the wireless antennas here, which it looks like I'm going to have to remove because it's trapped under the plastic here. So I'm going to take those out just so when I remove the cover to disconnect the battery, I won't end up damaging anything. So to remove the antenna wires, you just pull up on the tail like this. Okay, like that. All right, the black wire goes to the black arrow, and then the gray wire goes to the white arrow here. So lift that up and then move these antennas. I'm going to move them out of the way just so they're not in this plastic groove here. Okay, so the rest, again, I am going to leave it. If I do have to remove them, I'll remove them later. This connector looks to be like the fan connector. It doesn't look like it's trapped under the plastic, at least not on this model, or at least not on this one. Actually, it is. So we'll see. It looks like if that's the case, the top cover is probably going to come away from the bottom. So I might have to actually disconnect all of these. So let's undo these latches just to be safe. I'm going to undo that latch and undo the latch here. And then we're going to just pull the wires up here. You want to be very careful because these wires are fragile. I don't know what this blue tab is over here, but normally you got to pull it back. So it's kind of being difficult to remove. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this you might want to use like some kind of tool to make it easier to remove, but there we go. Lifted it up and pulled it back. This one you can actually reach this blue plastic tab for the connector here. So you grab that and then you can pull that back. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and start removing the rest of the components. I'm going to zoom back out. If you want to remove the optical disk drive or the CD drive, there's just one screw here. Take that screw out, and then to remove this, I like to just slide my fingernail up and down here as I kind of pull on it, so it kind of wobbles, it wiggles the connector out. If you pull straight out, you can actually risk breaking the clips here. Okay, so there you go. And I'm not sure the thickness of this, but you can check yours, measure, and they have a hard drive adapter that you can replace. So if you'd rather have another hard drive in your computer instead of a CD drive, you can do that. All right, and you can actually put an SSD in there instead of a regular hard drive. And I would actually recommend that, since the CD drive, usually the adapter won't have as good vibration protection. All right, so we're going to take the rest of the screws out. Again, you want to keep them in order because they can be different size, shapes, and lengths. And if you mix them up, sometimes you can damage your computer putting the wrong screw in the wrong place. Okay, so there's 4 screws along the back near the hinge. And I just put them in the order on my desk the same way that I take them out. So you see 4 here, and then I go, well, these I kind of left with the things over there, the covers, so I'm not going to count those, but there's that one we took out with the CD drive. So now I'm going to take out this screw here. Okay, and I just go along in rows. So then we'll go down, and then we'll go this row, 1, 2, I think there's one under there, 3, 4. So we'll take out 4 screws here. 2. Yep, there's a screw hidden under there. If you want, you can try and avoid, what did I do with one of my other needles? Huh, disappeared. Well, anyways, you can try and avoid breaking the sticker here if you can get underneath. But usually these stickers are kind of fragile, so even just poking under it actually tore. So I don't know if we can save this one. Yeah, kind of, a little bit, not really. Alright, so we'll leave that as is. It got torn, whatever. Okay, I'm pretty sure this laptop's already out of warranty, so doesn't matter. We'll just take that sticker out. If anything, you can actually leave the screw in there, but yeah, let's break this sticker out. Okay, 3. And 4 over here, okay. 4 there, and then the bottom row also has 4 screws, so we'll remove those 4 as well. Okay, so to change the screen, we're removing these because if we don't, then there's risk that it can short out the motherboard backlight circuit or even the screen, so, or both. So it's always a good idea to take those out. All right, so now that we got all of those out, let's see what we're gonna do. We're gonna flip the computer over, slowly open it, and then we want to look for the gap. So the gap is here on top, so it's at the where the palm rest meets the base. And the way I remove these is I get my fingernails in that gap. Okay, let me see if I can show this. And then when I have my fingernails in the gap, I push on the bottom of the cover. So just like this, and here you can see the clips just come out just like that. Okay. All right, and yes, it looks like the top cover will come out first. So what we're going to do, kind of, I don't know if you can see you can actually see the cracks in the screen here. So a lot of people, they'll go, oh, the glass isn't cracked, but it's internally, like, you can see like the dark areas. So if I push on it, you can actually see like the crack where it's going. All right, anyways, we're just gonna continue popping out the cover. So just go down, same thing, kind of putting pressure on the back cover as you kind of pull with your fingernails. If you don't want to use fingernails, you can use pry tools or something, but I find this works a lot easier. Some people get annoyed by my semi-long fingernails. Sometimes they're longer because I just let them grow until they're not working too well. Right, and yes, we did need to remove those cables, so let's see if I can show you. So here you can see the keyboard and trackpad cables in there. Okay, so I'm going to open this up. And you want to kind of be careful. To remove this side's a little bit tricky. You kind of have to like wiggle it around as you kind of lift it. All right, here you can see it's coming up. I might have to manually pop these clips here, so I'm just going to get my fingernail in the gap there. There we go, and that popped up. All right, and now hopefully we can just wiggle the rest out. It's still kind of stuck. All right, let's see. Let's put that down and close the screen slightly and see if there's a way we can access that from the other side. Not really. So the clips are back inside there, so we can't really reach that. So we're gonna have to just continue wiggling it to see if it will come out. And you want to be careful opening and closing the screen because there are less screws holding the hinges in place. So you want to be careful not to accidentally rip the screws out. All right, let me turn this around and see if I can show this inside. I want to look inside here so I can make sure I'm not going to damage anything. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of just wiggle this a little more as I kind of pull on it and see. For some reason the clips are really strong. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we got that out, and you want to be careful because the keyboard and trackpad cables are here. All right, I can actually clean this a little bit better now, so I'm going to take that out. Just use a toothbrush and brush that dust into a trash can next to me. Okay, so here we got the base out. You can see the trackpad buttons, how they connect, and then the trackpad actually connects to the buttons, and then the buttons connect to the main board. Right, so I'm going to set that aside now. I'm going to flip this over here. So here you can see the battery connector here. I'm going to leave the battery and all this stuff in just because this is more, I'm just going to show what's in the computer. So you can see the speaker connected here, all right, and that speaker connects to the other one. You got this USB board connected with this cable here. These come out just the same way like the keyboard and trackpad connectors that we removed earlier. Same thing with this. This is for the hard drive, the SATA hard drive, and it connects with this. So again, you can see like how wobbly it is. If you just yank the hard drive up, you can actually break this, so you want to be careful. You got the optical drive connector here. You got the fan here, but the fan connects on the other side, and we didn't have to remove the fan, so I just left that connector in place. You also got the CMOS or the BIOS battery here, and these connectors, they all have like these where the wings, you kind of just wiggle it, like you just grab the wings and you kind of wiggle it to pull it out. You got this is the LCD or LVDS connector, and then this is most likely for the camera that's in the screen. Okay, and the connectors go into the same, one cable goes into the screen. Then you got the power button is here. It's part of the main board, so if you break that, then you're going to need someone to solder a new button in. And the DC jack or the charge port is also soldered in. Then you got the wireless antennas, of course, going into the screen area as well. All right, so anyways, we're going to disconnect the battery here. Let me zoom in and see if I can show this a little better. I got all the covers in the way, but let me see here. Okay, so once you get there, you want to get as close to the connector as you can. Usually you can't get completely there, but kind of lift the cables up, grab all the connectors if you can, and then you kind of just wiggle the connector with the cables as you pull, and there you go. It comes out very easily. You don't want to just yank really hard out, or you can damage the connector or even break the wires here. Okay, so once you remove that, you want to press and hold the power button for 10 to 15 seconds. So right here, this golden circle, just click that down, press it for about 10 to 15 seconds. This will drain any power from the capacitors and things like that, so you don't risk damaging the screen. The other thing you can do is you can actually just flip this latch up and then pull this connector out. But yeah, you do want to drain the power, because sometimes if you flip this up and then if it slightly angles over one way or the other, the pins will cross and it can actually burn something in there. All right, so this screen, it actually has some adhesive underneath, so you can use some heat, but you don't want to use too much heat. So just like to make it warm, not like burning hot. I ended up just using this this metal tool, pry tool. And since I kind of know what I'm doing, then I kind of know how to avoid damaging it, but the screen's already broken, so it's not a big deal. The top doesn't have any adhesive, so what you do, you pull from the inside part here, and you kind of want to push the bezel in towards the center slightly, and this is how you remove the bezel here, okay? So we'll just keep pulling this out, okay? Actually, there was a little adhesive in there, it feels like. Okay, so I'm kind of pulling the bezel in towards the center as I kind of lift it up. And this can be a little risky, so if your screen is perfectly fine, you don't want to mess around with it, okay? But yeah, all right, so let me move this over here so you can kind of see better. Same thing with the edges here, you kind of just pull it up, but here you can hear there's the adhesive. So I had to actually get the tool in here and then slide it slowly down, cutting that adhesive, okay? But yeah, I already pulled up the adhesive, so it comes out a lot easier. But again, if you are doing this, you want to be careful. If your screen's broken, you don't really need to worry too much. But there's also a risk that you can crack this plastic piece here. All right, so I got that side out, so we're going to rotate it. I'm going to get the other side out. Same thing, just pull up. Again, I already peeled the adhesive slightly, so it is coming out a little bit easier than it normally would. Normally you would have to use some heat or something to cut the adhesive under there just to unstick it. Okay, so there we go, and then I have to kind of push the plastic in towards the center of the screen area to help release those latches. There we go. Oops, that Lenovo sticker still stuck to me. Get off. Okay. All right, so we got all of those parts out. Now we got to go towards the bottom. If I remember correctly, the bottom also had some adhesive. I just checked it. Let's see here. Okay, and then there's also the clips along the front of this part of the bezel as well. So you kind of want to get your, I just use my fingernails, you can use pry tools or whatever, and you want to kind of make sure that that's all popped apart, but we'll have to remove this first. Okay, so just go along here, same thing, you can kind of wiggle it up and down to kind of help it. But yeah, so there's the adhesive here. The way I get this adhesive out is I pull it forward and then I use the tool, and while I'm holding it forward I push the adhesive onto the screen, and then I just keep going, and then I push it and then keep going, push the adhesive, keep going, and push the adhesive, so that way it sticks to the screen that way. Okay, so here you can see actually some of the adhesive that I kind of cut, but it stays with the screen and the adhesive actually isn't needed afterwards. Okay, so anyways, just get that. Again, same thing, going all the way down the center, and kind of just wiggle that, and there we go. So we got the bezel out. If you got parts of the screen plastic stuff stuck in there, you can just peel that out. It's not needed. You can throw that in the garbage if you want. So here you can see all the screen stuff here, and this is the one I kind of tore a little bit of it. All right, so now we're going to remove the screws, the 4 screws from the screen. I'll turn it this way just so it's easier for me to show and I won't accidentally drop screws in there. Okay, so we're going to remove the 4 screws holding the screen in place, just like this. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we got those 4 screws out. Now we're going to flip this over. If you want to be extra safe, again, well, hold on to the screen so you don't drop it, but if you want to be extra safe, you can take the keyboard assembly and put this back on top. Okay, you don't need to snap it in place, just so that you can rest the screen on top of this and not on top of the motherboard. Okay, so what you do now is you pull these metal things out from the top corner, and then you slowly let the screen rest down just like this. Okay, then we're going to disconnect this cable. Let me zoom in. Okay, just like that. All right, and then we're going to get this connector out, so you can peel this up with whatever you want. Normally I use my fingernails, but I'm going to try using this. I'm getting a call right now, but they're going to have to wait. I'm almost done. Okay, this kind of is weird, so I'm going to actually just, once I got up part of it, I'm going to peel this up. Okay, that works. You want to be careful not to damage the connector there. Okay, so we're just peeling up this adhesive tab here. Luckily it's coming out nicely and the adhesive stayed there. If the adhesive doesn't stay, you might want to put some tape to tape it onto the back of the replacement screen. But anyways, now that we've gotten this tape off, grab as close as you can again to the connector, and then you kind of just pull it straight back just like that. Okay, you don't want to wiggle this one because you can damage or bend something, but yeah. All right, so we got the screen out. Let me make sure it's the same thing. It looks right. Okay. So the replacement screen, they sent like a replacement model number, so the model doesn't actually match. but we're gonna put this back. And we don't actually have to snap in the middle, the bezel, until after we reattach or reassemble everything. So to test the screen, you can actually reassemble everything first. So we're gonna reconnect this, okay? So what you do is you get the connector in, make sure it's completely aligned. Once you get it completely aligned, use the plastic tab, the bottom of it. So don't try and just pull from the top here. I use my fingers and put the pressure at the bottom of that to pull the connector straight into place. Make sure it clips in all the way and the gap is closed. All right, once you do that, you can put the adhesive back in. I kind of try and pull the adhesive slightly and then tape it on top. All right, and then we just flip the screen back over. Let me zoom out here. Okay, then we just flip the screen back up, get the screw mounts aligned. Okay, we can flip the laptop back over this way, and they have this protective layer on top, so that's what this tab is. Some people are wondering why they put stickers on it, or why there's, you can't really see it on this, but there's like lettering here. Oh yeah, you can see it. So I'm gonna take this out now. But yeah, so that lettering is actually printed on the clear plastic. Okay, so just line this up. This metal tab got bent a little bit in shipping, so that's why it's kind of not lining up, but I'll fix that. Hopefully the screen didn't get damaged during shipping. But yeah. And then also this screen that they sent is a thinner model, so as you can see there's more of a gap here and there's a big gap on this side, but the plastic bezel actually covers that up, so not an issue. All right, so we'll just put these screws back in. Okay, grab the other screws, put those in. Oops, sorry, it's going out of view. Let me zoom out some more. Okay, so now we got all 4 screws in. If you want, you can actually plug it in and turn it on, but then you won't have the mouse or the keyboard or the hard drive plugged in, which is okay. We just want to check if the screen is working. Again, open and close this very slowly because you are missing screws that normally would be holding the hinge in place. Okay, so now we're going to plug the battery back in here. Squeeze the 2 together. You don't want to just put all the force on the connector that way, because then some people I've seen rip these connectors off the board. All right, and now we're going to power it on and see if everything works. The fan is spinning, the screen is coming on, and let's see. I see it, there we go, and it's checking media. All right, so it should be good to go. There's no hard drive in it, so it's just going to complain. I'm going to turn it back off by pushing the button here. Wait, it's restarting itself. So here you can see it goes. Okay, so I'm just going to turn it off now. All right, make sure you turn it off before you replug the keyboard and the trackpad. All right, and then we're going to peel this layer off. And you kind of want to peel it straight back like this. Don't pull it up like that, because that pulls on the screen and it could actually damage the screen. So we're just going to peel this off here. Okay. Again, rolling it like this. There we go. And then we can actually put the screen bezel back on. There's actually still adhesive here, so make sure when you put it on that you kind of put it on in a way that you won't get it stuck and then you have to readjust it, or you can possibly damage the screen. So let me tilt this back here a little bit to show you better. Okay, so I put this bottom piece in first, make sure that's all clipped down. All right, and then get the bottom corner in. Can be a little tricky, just like that. And here you can see all the extra bezel, the missing screen area is hidden, so you can't see it. All right, and then you just push it in from the sides, okay? Just like this. You don't want to push from the center, you want to push from the outside here, okay? Just like that. And if it feels like it's not going in, don't use too much force. It might be misaligned, okay? So just kind of check that. There we go. And once you do that, you can kind of just go over the top, make sure everything feels kind of smooth, that it's not lumpy. All right, go down the sides, and looks good to go. And then you also kind of want to put pressure on the back with your hand, and then you can kind of push here to make sure everything is lined up as well. And there we go. I actually didn't check the screen cable alignment, but it seems good. There's no lumps here. You do want to make sure the screen cable does line back up in the notch that it was in before, but it looks good. So now we're just going to put everything back together. Okay, so we got the screen in. We're gonna get the trackpad and keyboard assembly back in. Make sure if you removed any connectors here that you put them all back in. And then this part can be a little tricky just because the cables, they're not like sticking straight out. So we do have to, you can try and straighten them a little bit, but we do have to check from the bottom to make sure it goes in right before we snap everything together. So it kind of helps to open it up like this, and then you can look from both sides. You can actually see from this side as well, and you might have to kind of use your hand in there to push it down, guide the wire into place. Okay, and you can see from the other side, hopefully. Or, I mean, you won't see it in the video, but while you're working on it, you should be able to see from the other side. Okay. The cable coming through. I see the keyboard one. The trackpad one is kind of a pain. Okay, so I'm probably going to use tweezers for the trackpad one, but let me make sure that the keyboard one stays in place. There we go. In there. Okay, so now if you want, you can actually snap the back part here first. Okay, just like that. Okay, and now we're gonna flip it over. We're gonna check the cables here. Okay, so the cables are on top, that's good. So now we can actually snap it all back together. Just squeeze the two layers together, pinch it, pinch that. Make sure you pinch where the CD drive slot is as well. Go along this side, and there we go. Slowly close that. Okay, everything looks good. Now we're gonna have to put back this is probably the hardest part of this, just to put back these two connectors. Okay, so get that. All right, so we didn't actually have to even disconnect the wireless antennas for this. Okay, so grab the blue tab here. Okay, with this you can probably use tweezers, it might be easier. And then once you get that, you can slide this blue tab in. Okay, and push that latch down. All right, then we'll get the keyboard one. Make sure there's no dust or dirt on it. All right, some people will probably get annoyed that I'm putting my finger oils on it, but it's not a big deal. All right, just like that, and the connector actually pops in by itself because of the bend in the cable. So here you can see the wings need to pass these little white raised notches. All right, now you can put that latch down. I'm gonna put the antennas back in that raised plastic area where it was before. The antennas, to get them in, just get the antenna lined up. You'll know it's lined up because if you try and pull on it, it stays in place, or you kind of rub your finger over top and then you just push it down. All right, same thing with the other one. There we go. Push it down. All right, make sure they're in there. Okay, fan connectors in. That's all in place. Let's zoom back out. Okay, there we go. We can put the CD drive back in place. Just slot it in, push it in, get the screw, put that back in. Okay, let's put the hard drive back in. Goes this way. All right, at this angle like that, you just push it in and then drop it down. Normally this latch kind of goes back. I don't know why it's permanently bent like that, but it's supposed to lock it into place. All right, and then we'll just put back all the screws. I'm getting another call, so I'm gonna have to make this quick. I'm gonna lose business making these videos. Okay, so the 4 screws along the top here. Then we got the one CD drive screw here. Oops, I already put that, sorry. This screw here. And we got the 4 going along this way. Okay, just like that. Then we just got to put back the 2 covers. I always like to turn the screws backwards slightly to feel it fall into place. So I don't know if you've noticed. I turn it backwards slightly. What's this brown stuff on my thumb? Alright, anyways, take that out. I probably should clean that as well. I probably should have done that when I had the cover open, but we'll just blow air through the bottom. It wasn't too dusty in there, so it should be okay. Alright, so we'll put this cover back on. Just slide this on like that. Make sure to get these bottom clips in as well. Okay, you might have to kind of maneuver it weird to get them to go in right. Make sure you don't use too much force to get those clips in or you can crack them. There we go. Put that screw in. Alright, and the last one. Same thing, go in at an angle like that. And then I kind of like to hold the middle up while I push the side clips in. And that's all there is to it. So hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, please like and subscribe. Help others find my videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.